Hey, hockey fans, TBOS is 13-3 here with another top shelf guest, former UW Badger and current Chicago Blackhawks assistant GM, Meghan Hunter. This episode is sponsored by State Farm Insurance, Hertel Law, Raleigh's Coach Club, Riverside Bike and Skate, and Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, which is committed to the healthcare needs of patients in Western Wisconsin since 1954. Mogi.
Well, this is really exciting. We made the trip down to Chicago, and here we are live with Meghan Hunter here. As you said, assistant GM on an unseasonably warm Chicago day here in mid-April. Last game of the season between the Blackhawks and the Flyers. Not exactly what we were hoping for this year, but hey, season comes to an end. We'll see what happens next year. But thanks for coming to join us today, Meghan.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Oh, it's our honor right now.
Absolutely.
Let's dive into just your history a little bit, if you don't mind. Oil Springs, Ontario. Where in the heck is Oil Springs?
Booming metropolis of Oil Springs, right? It's about a 6-hour drive from here, to be honest, which isn't too bad.
That isn't bad.
Right.
Here.
It's 2.5 hours southwest of Toronto. So it's about an hour and a half from Detroit. So,
okay.
Yeah, there's 800 people there that live there. That's the population. But I live probably about a mile and a half outside of that on a farm. So not actually in the booming metropolis of Oil Springs either.
The booming metropolis. I love it.
Yeah.
A lot of people talk to you about part of the, quote, first family of major junior hockey being the niece of longtime NHLers Mark Dale and Dave Hunter. You had to be a hockey player growing up.
Yeah, I was like, say I was born with skates on. Unfortunately, my first pair of skates were figure skates. So once my brother started to play, that's when I kind of asked if I could play too, because I could see how much I hated figure skating. But like some of my earliest memories will be, when I was just a toddler, my grandparents watching Dale, Mark, Dave on TV and falling asleep, having a mini stick in my hand, I just like living the dream and, the whole family around watching the satellite, which at that time it looked like a spaceship. It was so big.
Yep.
Out in my grandpa's backyard. So yeah, it was very fun.
So as a figure skater, you're tooling around. You don't have a stick or anything. But then at one point, your family went to the hockey shop to get your brother his gear, and you were 5 years old.
I was actually 8. He was 5.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
He was 5 years old. Okay. How'd that go? What ended up happening there?
I honestly just came right out, and they couldn't say no. They saw how passionate I was and excited. Well, could I play too? Because my cousins were there as well. They're my brother's age, and we're in Canadian Tire, and we're just going around with a shopping cart, like picking in, like, okay, you're gonna need some pants, probably gonna need a helmet.
We're gonna need another cart.
I really don't know what my parents like. Their face was probably like, I guess so.
They never thought of it.
Yeah, no, they never thought twice about it. And I went right into boys hockey in Trolley, Ontario. And I think at the time there was 3 girls in the entire organization, including me. So
Wow.
I played with the boys all the way up through until I was 14.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you had a younger brother. Was there any rivalries inside the house? A little knee hockey, a little elbow throwing?
Constantly. I think we have... My poor mom in the basement, we have stick marks. I mean, we used to throw mini sticks at each other. We shot pucks daily. And so we would get if he wasn't passing on my stick, I'd get mad. I'm like, you're doing it on purpose. And then we'd chase each other around the yard with hockey sticks. And then he would shoot pucks at me. I'd shoot him back. It was a war.
That sounds like a typical hockey family, doesn't it?
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, because I got a personal question, you got all your original chiclets then?
I do, fortunately, yeah.
Okay.
I can't say the same for my dad. I think my brother may have most of his.
But you were able to maintain.
I do, yeah.
Okay, very good.
So you mentioned that you were one of 3 girls playing in that association. So did you see yourself as a pioneer at that point, or you just, hey, I just want to play hockey?
Just wanted to play hockey. I remember dressing in the first aid room. I remember dressing in the bathroom. And, honestly, at the time, I didn't think anything about it. I was just like, I'm excited to play, whatever I need to do to get on the ice. I remember dressing in those nasty old school arenas, like the shower. My mom would, so I could feel more like the teen, she'd put up a shower curtain.
Okay.
And I would dress in this nasty shower that is can you imagine the old school rinks, right?
Yeah. The paint is chipping.
Seldom do they have hot water coming out of those showers.
Right, it's probably brown if it's coming out.
Yeah.
Right.
And you were stuck in those corners.
Yeah.
Hey, she did what she had to do. Yeah, did what she had to do, right?
Exactly, yeah.
We interviewed several episodes ago Karen Bai, and she talked about when she was playing with boys hockey, she would not use her first name in the program. She would go by her initials. Yeah. Did you do the same thing, or were you okay with your name in the program?
Yeah, I guess that was fine. We didn't really think twice about it. Some people may have said some stuff. I don't really remember being like targeted or anything, but I also was like 5'9" when I was 11, so I was pretty big.
Nobody was going to mess with you. Okay, there you go.
I wasn't quite 5'9", but I was a good foot or and a half taller than most of the boys.
Well, gals mature at an earlier age than boys do.
Right,
so,
right.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Who were the players that you liked who you watched? I mean, obviously you've got family members, but was there anybody else you were watching on the TV that you liked?
Yeah, well, I mean, like, I have to say my uncles, right? Like,
yeah,
that's
you
who
better.
I was like, who's your favorite team? I'm like, whatever uncle was playing that night, right? That's the team. So I remember a lot of the Washington Capitals growing up. Like the old Dino Ciccarelli, because he was from our area as well.
Sure.
You always like those scrappy, smaller guys, just like my uncles, right? So you'd be following them around, and we always remember Dougie Gilmour, like in Toronto, and players like that. Yeah. But I had watching my uncle in Calgary too when they won the cup in '89. He had like Lanny McDonald and all those type of players. Yep. Yeah. Well, and then obviously Edmonton too, right? How you not? Everybody's following Gretzky.
Oh my gosh, and that dynasty. Yeah,
so
absolutely.
pretty lucky to watch some amazing hockey.
So you grew up on a farm. Is that where you developed your work ethic?
Oh yeah, 100%. You just seeing what my parents are doing day in, day out. Like they had full-time jobs in the Chemical Valley, and then they also have a farm that my dad would just basically do on the side. So he had soybeans and wheat. He still does to this day. Now my brother's into it, and my little nephews and niece. And
wow.
So yeah, can you imagine? And then driving us all over North America for hockey. My brother played AAA. I was playing, we both started in Petrolia, and then as we got seeing that, this could be a possibility to go somewhere, we started traveling further. I had to go to London to play to London, which is like an hour away. So practices at like 10 o'clock at night. They're driving me there. They've been working all day. Dad probably was in the farm farming before he took me, and then took me to hockey, brought me home.
They sacrificed
a lot. And all the retirement money. So I hope I've got something saved for them.
Well, we hope so for you too.
Absolutely. So do you ever go back home and help with your favorite chore of haying in the heat? I read somewhere that was your favorite thing to do.
Oh, yeah. I was like, I'd be complaining, and I'd be stuck. Like, they'd always stick us up the highest, hottest part in the haymow, and you'd be up in there. And, I'm only 14, so I'm really not that muscular trying to whip these bales, around at the time. So I strategically try to, schedule my meetings, around, baling hay season.
Mama didn't raise no fool.
No, Mama did not, but I think the word's going to be out here soon. So,
right. I know they're starting to do some farming here. I think planning next weekend, and trying to decide. I haven't been home since Christmas, and I'm like, maybe I'll just wait for the next weekend after.
Well, smart gal.
Yeah.
Mogi's done a little bit of research, which he does for all of our guests. And there's something about an epic sub 12-minute training runs that you and your family did.
Yeah, they seem to think that if you could run 2 miles in 12 minutes, that meant you were in shape as a hockey player. Okay. And nowadays, nobody would ever run a mile or two just to base your fitness level on that.
Sure.
So yeah, I know they would. They've multiple times. One time they took us to the track. So it was my brother, my 3 cousins, and I guess, and it was okay, let's go. And then, but we didn't know half the family was going to show up to watch.
So
as
just
we're doing this,
ultra competitive.
Oh yeah,
I'm sure they had bets on everybody. I think Megan's going to win.
Honestly, if you didn't hit under 12, you were in trouble. You got to be training hard. You need an extra bike ride in. You need to do something else. So it was nerves. I felt like I was.
Hey, that family has a reputation to uphold, right?
Oh, it's like a mini Olympics,
right? Well, and that's again where the hard work ethic comes into too, right? If you're not working hard, well, it's going to show here, and this is what you need to do if you want to get to the next level, type of thing. And if not, you're going to be baling hay.
Yeah. Right. So high level of compete. For all our listeners out there.
Right.
High level of compete.
So obviously your parents, dad, mom, had a significant impact on you and your siblings.
Huge. Yeah, I wouldn't be here today, obviously, without them. But like you said, what they sacrificed. be like their money, their time. You know what I mean? And just the fact they never said no to me. Where would I be if they're like, no, that's for boys. Boys play hockey. You're not allowed to do that type of thing. But it was never that. They never put like a limit on me or a ceiling or everything. And it was just normal. I never really thought it was different. Never thought I was different than the boys because they never treated me that way.
That is so awesome.
Yeah, I know.
Awesome.
I owe a lot to them for not
absolutely
doing that. Like, what do you mean? You go out there. You work harder than them. You belong here. Yep. Show them that. Well, if you have a bad game, you had a bad game. It's nobody else's fault except your own.
It's not because you're a girl.
No.
Just because you didn't play well.
No,
because you stunk that game.
No excuses. That happens.
Yeah.
So at what point were you starting to get sniffs from colleges?
You know what? Back in the day, they used to do handwritten letters. Okay. I don't even date myself here, but computers, we were just starting to get into them at that point. And I remember the old dial-up email, where you're just like, oh, is there something coming in? So you get
the signal over the phone.
Yeah. So it was almost as early as grade 8 or grade 9. I was starting to get some letters in the mail.
Okay.
So like, oh, okay, maybe this is a possibility. And at that point too, I was still playing with the boys. I was kind of thinking I better get some more exposure at the women's game. So, because there weren't a lot of female scouts coming to men's hockey games, obviously. So I'm like, hey, if this is going to be a reality, I better do something here. So like when I was 14, that's when I made the switch to
start playing with the gals.
Yeah.
Okay.
So and was that the decision maker? Was because if you wanted to go any further, you wanted the exposure at the women's level? Yeah,
for the most part. And then the guys were getting bigger, right? I knew the hitting wasn't going to be the big part of my game either. So I think it was just to get involved in the women's game and kind of get in the high performance track of women's hockey, so I could be seen a little more in Toronto and across the nation.
So what were your major goals coming up as a hockey player? I know you had 3 big things that you wanted to focus on and wanted to achieve. Can you share that with us?
Yeah, the ones when I first started out in grade 4.
Yep. Hey, it's got to have a dream, right?
I know, and I remember writing like NHL it was a big Bristol board that we had to do with write our 3 goals up there. And so the first one was wanted to play in the NHL, wanted to play in the Olympics, and I wanted a scholarship, play hockey at a university somewhere. So those were the big 3.
And looking back on that, you played at Wisconsin. Mm-hmm. Okay, you were part of the Olympic program, so you at least had that piece. And here you are now as an assistant GM of the Chicago Blackhawks in the NHL. So I would say you hit them all. What do you think?
Yeah, I actually always say that sometimes you got to pivot a little bit with your goals. So I'm pretty proud that I did hit each of those levels.
Yep.
But yeah, when I knew playing wasn't a reality anymore, I'm glad that I found a different avenue. And same with the Olympics. Like after I ended my career, I never at that point thought that I'd ever get back in some capacity at the Olympics.
Yep.
So that definitely was a dream come true. So.
That's fabulous.
Wow, that's awesome. 4th grade.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm going to do.
Set her mark.
Here's what I'm going to do with my life. It's like, whoa.
I don't know if my parents had a chuckle or if they're like, oh my gosh.
Do you ever talk about that with them now?
Oh yeah, all the time.
It's
so
like,
they're like, well, that was you.
You did it. That's amazing, really.
Wisconsin was your ultimate choice. Were you getting anybody else taking a look at you?
Yeah, I took all. I only took 4 visits. I decided I just didn't want to go on my 5th one because I had already decided if I was going to go to a WCHA school or Big Ten that I was going to Wisconsin.
Okay.
Yeah, so
you knew that.
Yeah, because I had done an unofficial at Ohio State. That was the other one that I was considering, and I just went to Wisconsin. I fell in love, and that was it. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can we ask what was it that drew you there? What was the thing that attached you and said, this is where I belong?
The farmland outside.
The farmland.
Felt like home.
Yeah, it felt like home. And, a lot of people go to that school, but it's still felt like small town. Like a lot of people considering from where I'm from. It was a big move for me.
Yeah.
But it just felt like a small town. Just the people, the coaching staff, the players that I had met, the men's staff, the men's players. I don't know, just everything about it. I fell in love with the campus. I fell in love with the people, the culture. I just knew there's something in my gut.
We haven't really exposed to our listeners. What position did you play?
At Wisconsin, I was center. And then so with national team program or growing up through, I bounced between center and just wing, left or right. Didn't matter.
What was your skill set that you brought to the table that Wisconsin wanted you?
I think probably my vision, my hands, and scoring ability at times. Everybody tries up here or there, right?
Okay.
So I know if any of my former teammates are going to be listening to this, I'm sure it wasn't my skating ability.
Okay, we got that one.
Yeah.
So you actually got to play for Mark Johnson,
I did.
U.S. Olympian and a former NHL player. What was it like to play for Coach Johnson?
It was unbelievable, and it's just he has that presence, that just got instant respect, and not that I wouldn't respect another coach. He just has an aura about him that he just brings into the room, and the way he's able to relate with the females too. That's not an always easy transition coming from the men's game either, but it was seamless. I loved how he just kept things simple, upbeat, quick, and everything's like crisp, and he's passionate. He's so knowledgeable, and yeah, it was just
High
an even better
expectations?
person. Yeah.
High expectations?
He held you accountable for sure. Yeah, I was like, yeah, you're definitely.
We were lucky enough to be introduced to the assistant coach, Dan Cook. Was he scouting you at the time that you came, or who was the one that noticed you to come to Wisconsin?
It was originally, I think Dan was a couple years after, maybe 1.5. It was Julie Sassner. I don't know if you guys know who she is.
No.
She started up the program, and she had seen me in Toronto at some point. And this is the year before I had wanted to graduate. So I had a bad game in Toronto, and they have to wait till the end of the tournament to speak to you. So I just was like, I got to get out of here. I'm out. Oh, my dad, he's like, he's mad. I don't want to say anything. We're going home. We're like, out of the rink. We're going home. I'm like, I know I played terrible. I was just like, don't crinkle your bag, your Tim Hortons sandwich in the back, because then it's going to be like critiquing something I should have been doing, which I know I should have been doing. So Julie ended up following us home from Toronto.
Oh, wow.
It was worth like 3 hours from there.
Oh, my goodness.
That's before,
Cell phones.
GPS, cell phones, Waze. I do not know how she found us. So she got lost, and she was close, though, and she saw two farmers in a field and got out.
She wanted you bad.
Yeah, she got out. She got out and was like, do you guys know where Meghan Hunter lives? And they're like, I think that's Ronnie's daughter. It's like, yeah, just go down this side road and take a right, and it's like on your left. And so shows, and she like bangs on her door, and it's probably at this point 9:00 at night, and she apologized for showing up so late and said that she had come from Toronto.
Oh my gosh.
So I was like, with that effort, I'm like, all right, well, just sign me up.
Yeah.
Like, all right. So I ended up, this is again dating myself. She wanted me to show a video of Wisconsin and the campus. So we had VHS tape. Well, our VCR was broken.
Oh no.
So my grandpa lives just down the road, like less than a mile. So we're like, well, we'll have to go to Gramps. So we get Gramps, he's in bed, we get him out of bed, and but she's walking in too, because my grandpa has like pictures of my uncles with like Stanley Cups. And so she's like looking all around and like, so yeah, like this old farmhouse, we're watching Wisconsin Badger videos on the VHS. So
you can't make that stuff up.
No, and I'm just like, well, and then you don't forget that, right?
No, you don't.
Right, and it's like how far out of her way she went.
Yeah,
meant a lot. So, and just spending time with my family, because my family means so much to me, that it meant a lot. So,
okay,
yeah,
wow, good impression.
Let's take a quick break for our sponsors here. Riverside Bike and Skate, Eau Claire's hockey headquarters, which is the oldest hockey store in the state of Wisconsin. Buy hockey gear from the people that play and know the game. Riverside Bike and Skate. And also Hertel Law, the law firm that you want on your side, focusing on criminal defense and personal injury. Harry Hertel has been obtaining results for clients in the Chippewa Valley since 1981. When you need legal help, if injured or accused of a crime, call 715-832-4330 for a free in-person consultation.
Let's talk for a moment about your career with the Badgers. 177 career points, WCHA Rookie of the Year, Patty Kazmaier Award finalist. You made an impact there. How do you feel about what you left behind?
Yeah, hopefully I feel good. We got a few national championships after I left, so I'm hoping we started something pretty good there. I really enjoyed my time at Wisconsin. Part of it is like something that nobody will experience again because we all were about the same age. We all came in together. There was no seniors, no hierarchy, nothing. We all started out together because it's a brand new program. I was the second year of the program, but I still felt like we were kind of building it together. So having that camaraderie, oh my God, I can't say it.
Marbles in the mouth, camaraderie.
Camaraderie, yes. And having that was just like, you build that up, like you're doing it together. And we, I think I made a comment once that the West is taking over in terms of because the East was the major power at the time.
Absolutely, it was. Very established programs out there.
It did come true, so.
Yeah. So you played with one of our former guests, Sis Paulson.
Yes.
What can you tell us about Sis?
Sis was our captain for the entire time, and gosh, she had a hard job.
Corralling all of you.
Herding cats down there?
Yep. Yeah. Oh, what a leader. She's still a leader today amongst our group, and obviously with the team now. And such a great hockey mind, too, so learning from her and her passion and her work ethic, too, is out of this world.
Yeah.
So, but
She doesn't, she's not big in stature, but she always said when she was on the ice, she was as big as everybody else. Did she give that presence on the ice?
Oh, yeah, I was scared of Sis.
Okay.
You could tell her that, too.
Okay. Fair enough.
She demanded you to push yourself to the next level and get there. And she did the same to herself. So she was hard on herself. She's hard on us. So it was good.
That's a true leader.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Do as I say and as I do. Yeah.
What were your thoughts or your goals as you're now graduating from the Badgers? What did you want to do?
You know what? It was a super confusing time for me and stressful because I still kind of wanted to play, but there wasn't really a league. I was involved with the national team program too, but I was just like thinking of it realistically. Like, what am I going to do after this? What am I going to do for money? Am I going to couch surf on somebody's couch while I'm playing and trying to make this national team maybe as a bubble player at best?
Yep.
Like, what am I going to do here? So I started applying for some coaches' jobs because I wanted to stay involved in the game. And at the time, I didn't really know what else was available for females at that time to stay in the game. I just saw a lot of females move into coaching. I didn't see anybody like in hockey operations in the NHL. So I'm like, didn't think that would be the realm of possibility. So, so that was kind of it. I just decided that I'd rather take this opportunity to be an assistant coach at a D1 school and get some experience, start working, start getting established. And that's what I did. I don't know. Like, I know I definitely was sad to leave the game and but I still think it was the right decision. And, everything that I did obviously led to where I am today. So I don't have any regrets.
So you did go back east, though. You were with Niagara and Maine.
That's right.
Just never had an opportunity or just no interest to get a head coaching job at that point?
Not at that point. And I was having problems with my visa and it just was a difficult. I'm like, you know what? I don't know if this is for me right now. I think I just also was so young at the time. I was so close to the game, or maybe I was a little resentful too that I wasn't playing still, that I just maybe should have kept playing. So you know what? And I was far away from home. I was 13 hours from my family. So it was really far for me. So I just decided to move home and just try to reset, find something else.
And family's important to you, so you wanted to stay somewhat close.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
So you were selling photocopiers.
Yeah. Well, again, I didn't want to be living. I want to support myself. Right? I don't want to be living on somebody's couch. And
so in your booming metropolis, how many photocopiers were you?
Well, I was living in London at the time, so it was about an hour, but I was driving back and forth quite a bit.
Okay. And then you hooked up with your uncles with the London Knights.
They knew I hated sales. I still hate sales to this day. I just was pretty smart at how to attack certain things in that business. So I was actually relatively successful. Like, it's some of the hardest stuff I've ever done, but I actually learned a lot from it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they're like, "Hey, Meg, do you want to get back into hockey? Because I know you hate sales." He's like, "But we have this new division that we're starting, and we'd like you to run it if you like." He's like, "It's sales, but it's hockey tickets." So.
Okay. All
right. I can do that.
Sure.
Right.
And a pretty easily marketable team, the London Knights up there.
Right.
Pretty successful in the old OHL, I would say.
Would you say that was kind of your stepping stone now? I mean, you're back in the game, back in Canada, working for your uncle's Ontario Hockey League is like Mogi said, a big league. Is this kind of leading your path now?
Yeah, I don't even know where I was heading, honestly, at the time.
Okay.
But I just asked a lot of questions and gained a lot of experience in various different areas. It's such a small organization, especially the junior level. You kind of have your hands in. I was doing ticketing, but you're in on the marketing discussions. You're in game operations. You're in sponsorship, events and organizations, and meeting various different people, doing social media. So I just learned so much, just kind of like a sponge. So it was definitely a huge stepping stone. Get back in.
You were happy you got the invite.
Yeah, of course. I loved working for them. I did.
Let's talk about your next step. What made you decide to leave that and go to your next endeavor?
I think I just kind of want to get out of my uncle's shadows a little bit.
Okay.
I mean, I love the London Knights and I love living in that area because it's so close to my family. I just thought, maybe it's to my detriment. I'm always like, what's next? What's bigger, better? How can I get better as a person, professionally and personally? So I just happened to be on some kind of website once and saw, after the 2010 Olympics, there was kind of a max exodus because it is a lot of work working for a national team program leading up to that 4-year cycle. So there was 2 or 3 jobs posted that I was like, hey, well, these are really interesting.
Okay.
So I reached, so I just ended up applying. I think I knew a few people at Hockey Canada just from being involved in the program. So had an interview, didn't really hear anything for a while. And then again, it was probably a few months later, they connected back with me and I did one kind of writing assignment and landed the job. So, yeah.
And one of those influential people was Kevin Dineen. You had a great relationship with him. Tell us about that.
So yes, Kevin Dineen was the head coach of the 2014 Women's Olympic Team Program. Yeah. So that's how we met. He came in late in the process, so it was probably November leading into it. I can't remember, but we just built a really good relationship because my role at Hockey Canada was pretty much overseeing the day-to-day operations of that team and giving the coaches and the players all the resources that we have available at our disposal for a high performance standpoint and make sure we're up to the standards of where we want to be. I also ran our family program, making sure the families were all taken care of when we were going to the Olympics. So Kevin and I met during that process, went over to Sochi together, and we just kind of stayed in touch. And he's obviously an amazing individual. So that was my connection there.
We forgot to ask, what was your major in college, and are you using it now?
Not really.
I think it was something to do with agriculture.
Yeah, it was agricultural business management.
Yeah.
Farmer.
The farmer. See, there you go. But the business portion of it, I'm still using. I mean, I use that all the time. And it was funny when I was going to school, though. I was learning all the ag side of stuff, and I'd go home and tell my dad about certain things. He's like, oh, you're getting educated. You think you know everything. I just started to laugh. I was like, oh, I don't know anything about this.
I'm going to come home and tell Dad who's been doing it for 50 years.
Yeah.
Plant my corn.
How you think you can do it better, honey? Get out there. Yeah. It's like, oh, never mind.
Oh, you caught on with the Chicago Blackhawks. Was that right after Team Canada stint?
It was. It was the 2016.
Yep.
June 2016 is when I started with the Blackhawks. And again, that was my connection. Kevin Dineen was the assistant coach for the Blackhawks at the time. So I called him and just asked, do you have any opportunities, any openings? I'm looking to move closer to home. I was actually getting married. So kind of needed to come to Chicago. So it's my one and only opportunity to try to if I want to work at the NHL level, that was going to be it. But I mean, I could be flexible a little bit in that too, but it was basically my dream to try to get on with the Blackhawks. So
you started as a scout, right?
Started as an executive assistant, actually, for Stan Bowman.
Oh, my goodness.
So at that point, I'm seeing everything coming across the general manager's desk. And it's a lot of how I picked up on so many of the things that I do now.
Wow.
So I was just more of a sponge, asking a lot of questions. I got brought into the daily transactions, day-to-day, of what the general manager does. So, yeah, that's kind of how it all transpired.
Stan Bowman. A name that's synonymous with hockey. Give us a little insight about Stan Bowman. Can you share a little insight into his personality at all?
He's very quiet. He's very articulate and analytical. He's always thinking. His mind was always processing something too, and it's the nicest person that you'd meet too. He was very he was good to me and my family. So yeah, he was great.
So you learned a lot of things as that administrative assistant. So now you are an assistant GM. So give us a kind of a day-to-day for Meghan Hunter in your role.
Yeah, it's something different every day. I always I struggle with this one because it's something different every day. But basically, I'm in charge of all the day-to-day operations of the team, and that goes from everything. Daily transactions, the medical paperwork, making sure everything's submitted correctly, making sure our roster is compliant from day to day. So if we're calling, I send guys down, I call them up, and then I make sure we have enough room, salary cap wise. I'm our liaison with the NHL to make sure we're compliant roster wise, but only also with other things we're doing contract wise. So it's a lot. I still handle some immigration stuff for the players.
You've got broad shoulders.
A lot of balls in the air there, Meghan.
Yeah. Surrounded by good people, I think.
Holy buckets. Okay, we're going to take a quick note here to give a shout out to a couple sponsors. Raleigh's Coach Club in Altoona, Wisconsin, located across the street from Altoona Ice Center on Spooner Avenue, has been a staple in the Altoona community for decades, providing support and sponsorship for youth and adult sports. Raleigh's has your favorite beverage ready and your favorite team on the screen. And for all your family's insurance needs, see one of the well-qualified Flag brothers at State Farm Insurance, Jeff in Chippewa Falls, Ryan in Eau Claire, or Quinn or Rolf, both located in Duluth, Minnesota, who are all hockey fanatics themselves.
So, Meghan, the Hawks had just a tremendous run. They pick up 3 Stanley Cups, but recently things have kind of gone on the decline. You know, you had some of your studs, Duncan Keith, Brett Seabrook. You had Patrick Kane, who's no longer with you. Patrick Sharp retired. And unfortunately now Jonathan Kane has reached a point where he is finished with the Blackhawks. So what do you see as moving forward for the team? Last game tonight, what are you looking forward to in the summer?
Yeah, I think just kind of sticking with our plan. I know we've announced that it's going to be a rebuild, and I think just having transparency like we have with the organization and the fans, and just kind of building through the draft and building through our exciting young prospects. You know, we've thought we had a great draft last year. We've also just recently signed a few other draft picks from previous years, and we're kind of excited for the youth to come up and see how everybody develops. And that's kind of the goal. Yeah, just kind of rebuild through the draft.
Hard to see those icons leave, but again, you knew it was going to happen at some point. But how exciting for the young Bucks, right?
Right. Yeah, it's definitely sad, and we're so thankful for everything that. Yeah. Jonathan, Patrick, all the players that have been involved with the Blackhawks for such a long time, and definitely hard to see them go. But we have to turn the new page, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have any of the older generation Hawks that still act as ambassadors for you?
We do. We got Chris Chelios.
Another Badger.
There you go. I know. We do say that quite a bit. I see him pretty much every game in the suite. So yeah, we got a little Badger connection that we make sure that we chat about.
Nice.
Dennis Savard still involved. Brian Campbell's actually part of our leadership team as well. So I see him day to day, and he's involved in quite a bit of the operational aspects of the team.
When you were promoted to assistant GM, did you feel maybe at that point that you were making roadway for women in the NHL as an executive? You're only one of 4 or 5 executives in the NHL, females. How does that make you feel?
Ecstatic. I'm very proud of it. I'm also a little nervous. People want to make sure that I'm setting a good example, leading the way. At the time, honestly, when I was announced, I didn't really grasp how important my role would be in the representation that would bring across, for other females, until I started talking to more and more people. And it's huge. Like I said, I mentioned before, when I was coming out of university, I knew very minimal women that worked in the NHL, let alone hockey operations. So now opening these doors and hopefully creating other opportunities for other females coming up, I feel a responsibility to try to push that forward.
Yep,
Do you think that there's anything in the NHL itself that has changed to allow the introduction to women into the sport a little bit more?
I think so. I think they have a lot of different programs that they're promoting, and I think the knowing that diversity is such an important piece of each team and the different opinions that can be brought by bringing diverse candidates into the workplace and the different teams. I think the NHL is definitely trying to make that more viable.
So obviously you're involved with the men's game right now, but you've got to be really excited and happy with the development of the women's game. I mean, there's more TV opportunities, there's more exposure through the media, and the skill level of the women is just kind of going through the roof as it is with the guys. So you've had experience with both men and women's programs. If you had to compare those, what would you say?
Yeah, I actually made a comment in the past about that, how the men's game's kind of moving more like the women's game, because there's less and less hitting, right? Yeah. You know, the women have a little bit of hitting along the boards. It's more rubbing out. There's just no center ice, like big hits. And you're actually not seeing that many in the NHL either. It's more, you're seeing a lot smaller players coming into the league and like excelling. And the skill is through the roof, right? Yeah. So, I mean, that's kind of the women's game. It's fast, it's skilled, it's exciting to watch. And I feel like the games are growing closer and closer together.
Yeah, that's cool.
As an executive, do you have any input when it comes time to decide if a player needs to be released or traded?
We have like a leadership team, so we all kind of are a part of that. I was fortunate enough to be part of the trade deadline process too this year, and what all went into that, and it was a lot of long hours. And so I'm definitely involved. Obviously Kyle has final say, but he definitely welcomes my opinion.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So season will be over for you folks. Of course, then you've got the long stretch with the playoffs, but then you've got the draft coming up and then free agency coming up in July. So you probably have a little bit of downtime now, but things are really going to get cranked up in the next couple of months.
Yeah, it's funny. Some people think you're not in the office at all in the summer.
Going golfing, right?
Going fishing, see you in September. So we have the draft lottery May 8th. We have the NHL Combine June 4th to 10th. NHL draft, free agency. Then we have our development camp. So hopefully by mid-July things may slow slightly. I also handle a lot of day-to-day operational things for hockey operations staff in terms of like budgets and different contracts, stuff like along those lines. So that starts to ramp up now too. So not really a lot of downtime, but try to find some weekends here. Maybe I get to the farm.
There you go.
Just not next weekend.
There you go. Not planting weekend. Sorry, Dad.
Or hang.
Yeah. No.
Not going to happen.
Not going to happen.
Do you have any insight as to who you believe, whether it's your AHL affiliate or new guys that have just come to the team, that you're looking at saying that's going to be some of our best players in the future?
Oh yeah, we could already see it. We with our first round draft pick last year, or a couple of them really. We had Kevin Korchinski at our training camp, and his skating ability and what he was doing at training camp just as a young rookie, unbelievable. So we're really excited for some of the guys that we have coming up. And, you look at a player like Lucas Reichel, who's been in AHL for most of the year. We brought him up here at the end of the year, and he was flying. So we're excited for him next year. Hopefully he's with us full time. And he's to see his development over the last couple of years is amazing. So very excited.
It's got to be fun for you. You made the pick, and now he's blossoming. So
exactly.
That makes you folks feel good, like we got her.
Well, we got to make sure we keep doing that too.
Yeah,
right?
with more guys. Yeah,
draft well.
Not like 1 out of 10. Hopefully 8 out of 10 at least.
Right.
Is there, when the draft comes up or the trade line deadline comes up, and you want to start making trades, if you do, is there any area that you're looking at to improve in right now?
I think we're just like collecting assets and stuff right now, but I think Kyle's mentioned this too. You want to build with kind of speed down the middle, and bigger D, but isn't everybody? I think everybody's kind of looking for that's similar,
right?
Every NHL team. So I think speed is key. Is probably one of the things we'll try to target. And if you can't skate in the NHL these days, it's pretty tough.
Yeah.
So
Do you still do any scouting yourself?
I do. I try. I get pulled in other directions sometimes, and it's a little tough. I've been traveling the second half of the season more so than the first. I guess I was with the team quite a bit, so it kind of took up my ability to go out and amateur scout. But I do still try to get up and see some games, the U.S. program around here, or when I'm back home, I go to the Knights games, which is nice.
Sure.
So, and it's nice to have that little direct line to my cousins and my uncle there. Like if I have a question about a player that, they see, how many times a year, because they play against them all the time. Like, what do you think? Like, what's the inside scoop on this guy? How, does he play hard? And
Nice.
stuff like that.
I was going to ask that if you used your family as a network for advice, and it sounds like you do.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Hockey's such a small world. Like they may have had the player at one time. My cousins have both been involved in the Hockey Canada U17 program, so they've had some of the recent draft picks on their teams there. So, yeah, I would be crazy not to reach out to such a valuable resource there.
That's very true. So, Meghan, you've been a pioneer as a player in hockey. You've been a pioneer as an executive for women in the NHL. In your opinion, when will we finally see a woman general manager and or a woman head coach in the NHL?
I mean, I think soon. Especially I know there's various different programs from the Coaches Association standpoint. We're bringing women, getting them more involved in the game as coaches, and I really do just think it's a matter of time. I don't know, maybe one or two more years, or maybe next year. I know there's Jessica Campbell's with Coachella Valley as an assistant. So that was a huge stepping point. So hopefully that opens the floodgates.
Nice. So, yeah, cool.
If I'm a U16 girl listening to this podcast, what advice would Meghan Hunter have for that young lady who wants to keep playing hockey up to the Division I level?
Yeah, I mean, hard work goes a long way. That's how I kind of learned. Keep your grades up because that does count too. Specific info, just to try and do your research on your school. If you're trying to go D1, make sure that you're comfortable with it and you're there, not just for hockey, but for school and lifestyle and what works best for you. But yeah, just keep working hard and good things will happen.
What is the biggest stress of your job? Is it if you put in advice and the player turns out to be crap, or or hey, it might happen, right?
It could. Hopefully not.
True.
Or is it when the GM comes to you and gives you an assignment that needs to be done immediately? I mean, what's your biggest stress?
I've learned to deal with pressure-packed situations fairly well just from the different jobs that I've had. So I kind of feel like I perform well under pressure, knock on wood. So that definitely can be stressful. I think the unknown sometimes from day to day, and just trying to things that maybe I can't control. I try to prepare and try to get ahead, but there's just some things that I'm like, I could have never thought of that happening. And things just go sideways and you have to deal with it and you got to find a way, you got to get it done. So I don't have one exact example, I guess, but it could be anything from immigration or something to do with CBA related that didn't work out right, or
sure.
The league's calling, well, you didn't do this correctly for some reason, or I'm like, well, that's not what we talked about the other day. So just something that I can't plan for. I think that's the scariest, the unknown sometimes.
And that's kind of the story of your life. You can have a great plan going into your day and something comes up and you get nothing done on that list, and holy cow, you got a whole new list now.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, here we go. We got to do this. Just start picking it off one at a time.
And that's exactly what happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gary Bettman knocks on your door tomorrow and says, Meghan, if there was one change you would want to see happen in the NHL, if any, what would that be?
Oh, that's a good question. I was going to say something about one of the rules.
That's all right.
Change one of those rules that throw the puck over the glass.
Oh,
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
I don't know. I guess just have more women involved. It's not to any fault, I guess, of Gary's, but it's just keep promoting those opportunities and allowing more females and diverse candidates into the NHL and into the workplace, and keep doing all that good work.
I do like your answer, though, about the puck over the glass.
that bugs you, well, because you're a defenseman.
Damn right.
Yeah.
I want that puck out of the zone one way or the other.
Skate it out, buddy.
I think there was a motion just to at least make it reviewable, which I don't know how I feel about, because that's going to slow the game down even more.
Oh,
Right.
Yeah, definitely.
But I think there was one time that somebody lost the game because of it. Like it hit off somebody's glove, and it shouldn't have been a penalty, and then they scored, and then changed the game.
Yeah,
So
come on.
yeah,
Well, sometimes you got to rely on the eyes of the referee and let the game flow, too.
sometimes yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, as a retired referee, nowhere near the NHL level, all I can say is we do make mistakes.
Right.
Do you ever find yourself yelling at the stripes once in a while?
I try to keep my cool.
That's a very political way of saying, yes, I do.
Tell you what, as a former coach, though, I got to tell you, early on, and then as I got older, you learn to appreciate the effort that the referees do put in.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
obviously, my perspective is way different than theirs, and they could have seen or missed something that I didn't see, or what I missed. And yeah, it's hard. I like the video for some things, but for some things too, it's like, come on, they're humans. The players are human.
Right.
Let the human element play out. Let
Exactly.
let the game go.
Are you allowed to give us any insight when the draft comes, who the eyes of the Blackhawks are looking at?
We just right now we don't know where we're picking. Right? It's really tough to say right now.
True.
I mean,
yeah.
you can't really go wrong with the top 3 or 4 in this. It's a pretty strong draft. So I mean, it's everybody. You've got Connor Bedard, Adam Fantilli, Leo Carlson, Matty Michkov. There's you go down the list. There's some high end players in this draft.
So kind of wherever you fall, that those top end draft picks, assuming you're a first or second or third round or third draft pick, you're going to be taking one of those top guys.
Hopefully, hopefully we'll just
Okay.
see where we end up, and a lot can still happen. Even though there's a couple. It's our last game of the season, but still there's so many things up in the air. So we'll see where we end up, and then once we know for sure on May 8th, then we can kind of start to narrow things down a little bit more. So
you go for the best player, not particularly position specific. Then
usually, honestly, we targeted Kevin Korchinski last year. We knew we wanted him.
Yep.
We thought he was the best player for our organization, and where he fell. I don't know if other teams' draft boards are so different. Every team is different on how they value a player. But he was for us our number one. That's who we wanted. So I don't know what's going to happen this year. We're going to see where we land, and then I think, like I said, narrow it down from there.
sure.
I've got one last question and that is, you have landed with the Chicago Blackhawks, one of the original 6 teams in the NHL. To me, that's huge. To you, is it, I'm blessed to be in the NHL with a team, or does it mean that much to you too to be with an original 6 team?
I think both, yeah. I mean, you got the original 6. I mean, like you said, it's huge. I grew up immersed in hockey, following the Leafs growing up too, right? And and then Detroit, I was kind of wedged between the two, and just the iconicness of Chicago and the Chicago Blackhawks is something that that I don't take lightly either. It's really special to be a part of. So
my last question then would be, obviously you're assistant GM right now, but what are your ultimate goals for yourself within the game?
good question. And, potentially GM, or, even if there is a such role at some point that's, president of hockey operations or something along those lines. I don't really know where it's going to lead me yet. Like I said, I've been in this role for almost a year now, and I'm enjoying it. I still have some lot to learn here. So I'm going to take it day by day for right now and just keep soaking everything in, asking a lot of questions, and hopefully adding a lot of value.
Yeah, there you go.
Meghan, all I can say is, well, number one, congratulations on what you have achieved.
Absolutely.
But you did it. I mean, you have the work ethic, and it's been a pleasure talking to you. We appreciate your time.
No, thank you for having me. It's been great.
Ladies and gentlemen, our listeners, please don't forget to leave a review and a comment on our podcast platforms. It can only help us out And always remember to say hi to our sponsors when you come in, and that helps us out as well. Mogi?
Absolutely. Hey, great, huge thank you here to Meghan Hunter, as well as you folks, our audience. Please remember our sponsors: State Farm Insurance, Hertel Law, Raleigh's Coach Club, Riverside Bike and Skate, and Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. Follow us on all of your favorite social media platforms, as well as YouTube. And remember, folks, until next time, stay on your inside edges.